This tutorial will address the basics of how to create a form in Google Docs. Forms are a handy tool for many purposes. You can use forms for worksheets, tests, quizzes, surveys, and anything that you want to gather data from, because the outcome will end up being in a spreadsheet, and I'll show you kind of how that works. But forms are real easy to make, and in the second tutorial on this subject I will show you how they can be graded within the form itself. So we're going to start by going to the Create button and down to Form. You have an option for several templates, and you can even, there's even more available, but I'm just going to stick with a simple template here, and I'm going to give this form a title. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, if you are having students fill out a worksheet, the very first question that you want is, what is your name? And down at the bottom here, you can make that a required question. Then you're always going to know who turned in your specific survey. Now you have a lot of options here. Text will give you a short answer, and I'm going to select text for this first question. But if you want them to type in a more lengthy sort of answer, you can select paragraph text, and of course multiple choice, checkboxes, lists, and scales and grids. So we're going to select text, and notice I have selected the required question, and I'm going to say done. Now I'm going to continue on with my test by adding an item, and it looks the same, and I'm going to say, what is your favorite season? For this I'm going to select multiple choice, and notice my boxes come up. Option 1, I'm just hitting enter on my keyboard. And if I wanted to, I could select this to be a required question, and I can X out of the option there. If you wanted them to put in other, I could click on this other, obviously for the seasons. I don't want to do that. And then I'm going to select done. I'll add another item. What is your favorite food? For this, I'm going to put in, let's do check boxes so you can see what that looks like. And I'm going to say pizza, hot dogs, steak, mac and cheese. Okay, for this one I'm going to put add other, just so that you can kind of see what that looks like. Alright, and then I'm going to click on done, and I would continue on. If I wanted to edit any of these, I can click on the edit button. This option here allows you to duplicate the question, which if your question is kind of lengthy, you can duplicate it and then just change some of the words in it. Or let's say if your responses were going to be the same in every one of them, as in a rubric sort of thing, you would just duplicate the question. So now I'm going to say that I am finished with this form. And under Send Form, I can select who I'm going to send this to. So I'm going to send it here Send it to myself so I can show you how that looks like later. And I'm going to close it. Take a look at the top here because you have some options. We're going to be able to view responses up here, and notice we have 0 responses yet, and we have view live form. So what I'm going to do is, under the view live form, this is what your form will look like. And for right now I'm going to actually skip that. What is your favorite season? I'm going to say fall. And my favorite food would be pizza. And then I will click submit, just so you can see some of the responses. Notice when I said that the name was a required question, it won't let me submit that response until I put in my name and click submit. Okay, I'm going to do one more response. And I will say spring this time, and hot dogs, and submit, just so that you can see what happens when we get to the form itself. So I'm going to close this, and now you notice that I do have 2 responses, and I'm going to click on view responses. And here's what's going to happen. So if you were giving a quiz, you would be able to see the people, and then you would be able to see the names that are in your responses, as well as the day and time that they sent in their responses to you. From this tool, you would also be able to create some data, and you would be able to, if you wanted to, you'd be able to go back in and edit your form. And there's my form again. But notice the answers do come through in a spreadsheet. I can again go to the live form. I can embed this form in a web page, and I can show summaries of responses, as you can see. So when you're going over quizzes, tests, and that kind of thing, you're going to be able to see who gave what answers. And basically that is the beginnings of how to create Google Docs forms. What I like to do when I'm sending out a form is I generally will go to the live form and I will copy the URL. That's not the only way that you can do that, but that seems to be what works best for me. And then I send it to the people that I want, or else I create a hyperlink within my web page. So that's the very basics of creating a Google Docs form.